Welcome back to my channel. And now I will summary the chapter 2 entitled Configure a Network Operating System. So this is the summary version 2.0. So let's check the section 2.1 titled iOS Bootcamp or the 2.1 or the a GUI interface such as a Windows OS and OS X, Apple iOS, or Android allows the user to interact with the system using an environment of graphical icons. However, GUI is may not always be available to provide all of the features available to the at the CLI. GUIs can also fail, crash, or simply not operate as specified. For these reasons, network devices are typically accessed through a CLI. The CLI is less resource intensive and very stable when compared to a GUI. Primary command and modes. So this is the primary command and modes. The first one is user exec mode. This mode has limited capabilities but is useful for basic operations. It allows only a limited number of basic monitoring commands but does not allow the execution of any commands that might change the configuration of the device. The user exec mode is identified by the CLI prompt that ends with a symbol. Privilege exec mode. To execute configuration commands, a network administrator must access privilege exec mode. High configuration modes like global configuration mode. The privilege exec mode can be identified by the prompt ending with the hashtag symbol. So this is the examples of some host names and device names. When configuring a network device, one of the first steps is configuring a unique device name or host name. Like I said, host names that appear in CLI prompts can be used in various authentication processes between devices and should be used on topology diagrams. If the device name is not explicitly configured, a factory assigned default name is used by the Cisco iOS. The default name for a Cisco iOS switch is switch. If all network devices were left with their default names, it would be difficult to identify a specific device. By choosing names wisely, it is easier to remember, document, and identify network devices. So this is the host name should start with a letter, contain no spaces, end with a letter or digit. Use only letters, digits, and dashes. Be less than 64 characters in length. Yeah, you must understand it. Configure host names. Oh, my internet. So this is the configure host names. For global configuration mode, enter the command hostname followed by the name of the switch and press enter. Notice the change in the command prompt name. Always make sure the documentation is updated each time a device is added or modified, and identify devices in the documentation by their location, purpose, and address. Secure device access. Secure device access. The use of Weak or easily guessed passwords continues to be a security issue in many facets of the business world. Network devices, including home wireless routers, should always have password configured to limit administrative access. Cisco iOS can be configured to use hierarchical mode passwords to allow different access privileges to a network. Note, most of the labs in this course use simple passwords such as Cisco or class. Just the simple password. These passwords are considered weak and easily guessable and should be avoided in production environments. We only use these passwords for convenience in a classroom setting or illustrate configuration examples. Save the running configuration file. These are the two types for the device configuration. Startup configuration. The file the file is stored in non-violate random access memory or NVRAM that contains all of the commands that will be used by the device upon starts up or reboot. NVRAM does not lose its contents with the device is powered up. Running configuration. The file is stored in random access memory or RAM that reflects the current configuration. Ports and addresses, IP addresses. So this is we have two the IPv4 and IPv6 addresses. The use of IP addresses is the primary means of enabling devices to locate one another and establish end-to-end communication on the internet. Each end device on a network must be configured with an IP address. Note in IP in this refers to both the IPv4 and IPv6 protocols. IPv6 is the most recent version IP and the replacement for the more common IPv4. With the IPv4 address, a subnet mask is also necessary. An IPv4 subnet mask is a 32-bit value and that separates the network portion of address from the host portion. For the whole summary of Chapter 2, this is the Chapter 2 Configuration Network System, Network Operating System. Cisco IOS is a term that encompasses a number of different operating systems which runs on various network devices. The technician can enter commands to configure or program the device to perform various network functions. Cisco IOS routers and switches perform functions that network professionals depend upon to make their network separate are expected. Sorry. So this chapter is introduced the Cisco IOS. It detailed the various modes of the Cisco IOS and examined the basic command structure that is used to configure. It is also walked through the initial settings of a Cisco IOS switch device, including setting name, limiting access to the device configuration, configuring banner, messages, and saving the configuration. So for this chapter 2, we all know that Cisco IOS and examine the basic command structure that is the why. So for this chapter, we all know to how to create a device name and rename it, how to create a password for a simple classroom. You must put the password Cisco or classroom, Cisco or class for classroom. So this chapter we encountered the IPv4 and IPv6 addresses and the IPv4 have a 32-bit and the IPv6 have the high bit like that. So for the replacement of IPv4, the IPv6 is there for us to help to create the some commands like that. So that's all for this chapter 2. So thank you, like and subscribe my channel. Thank you.